My grandmother was a woman who believed the world should bend to her will. If she decided something, there was no room for discussion. Her stubbornness was legendary in our family, and her pride stood taller than the houses she owned. For most of her life, she believed money and control were the same thing. She never imagined that one day, both would slip through her fingers. My name is Diana Morrison. I was the only daughter of my parents, their miracle child, their entire universe. We lived in Portland, Oregon, in a quiet neighborhood lined with maple trees and clean sidewalks. My father was a respected real estate consultant, and my mother worked part-time while dedicating most of her life to raising me. Our home was filled with warmth, laughter, and simple routines that felt permanent. But permanence is an illusion. One late autumn evening, my parents were returning from a business conference in Eugene. The rain was heavy, the road slick. A drunk driver ran a red light on the highway. The impact was instant and unforgiving. By the time emergency services arrived, there was nothing left to save. I was 15 years old when I became an orphan. The days after their deaths passed in a blur of condolences and paperwork. I barely remember the funeral, only the sound of soil hitting the coffin and the feeling that my chest was collapsing inward. When the house emptied and everyone returned to their lives, I was left alone with silence. There was only one option left for me. My grandmother, Margaret Morrison, took legal custody of me. She lived in a massive estate near Tacoma, Washington, overlooking dense forests and distant mountains. The house felt more like a museum than a home. Expensive paintings hung on the walls, but there was no warmth in them. My grandmother was incredibly wealthy. She owned apartment complexes in Seattle, commercial properties in Bellevue, and acres of undeveloped land across Washington state. Her name carried weight in legal and financial circles. But with wealth came vultures. My cousins Trevor and Nolan Hayes were her late son's children. They had grown up entitled, believing the family empire belonged to them. From the moment I moved in, they treated me as a threat. Every dinner turned into an argument. Every family gathering ended with raised voices and slammed doors. They were constantly dragging my grandmother into court, challenging ownership rights, demanding early inheritance, accusing her of mismanagement. Lawyers became frequent guests in the house. Court summons arrived like unpaid bills. I watched helplessly as bitterness consumed the family. I begged my grandmother to find peace, to negotiate, to avoid destroying what little family we had left. She refused. She said compromise was weakness, and weakness invited destruction. Then destiny struck again. One freezing morning in January, my grandmother's car slid on black ice near Mount Rainier National Park. The vehicle smashed into a concrete divider. She survived, but her spinal injuries were severe. Both her legs were permanently paralyzed. The woman who once ruled everything from a position of power was suddenly dependent on others for the smallest tasks. That was when my cousins made their move. They questioned her mental fitness, filed emergency petitions, and manipulated legal loopholes. They hired ruthless attorneys and bribed witnesses. I was too young, too inexperienced, and too broke to fight them properly. The court ruled that most assets would be temporarily transferred to trustees controlled by my cousins. Temporary quickly became permanent. One afternoon, Trevor arrived at our house with eviction papers. He spoke calmly, almost politely, as if throwing us out was just another business transaction. We were given 30 days to vacate the property. My grandmother said nothing. Her pride finally had no words left. We left the mansion with only suitcases and memories. No family offered help, no friends returned calls. Wealthy acquaintances vanished like ghosts. We moved to a small town outside Flagstaff, Arizona, where rent was cheap and no one knew our name. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment near an old railroad line. The sound of passing trains became our nightly companion. My grandmother's health deteriorated quickly, medical bills piled up. I worked after school cleaning offices and washing dishes. I learned adulthood early. Years passed in quiet struggle. One night, my grandmother held my hand and whispered that pride had ruined everything. She said she should have protected me instead of fighting imaginary enemies. She passed away peacefully before sunrise. I buried her alone. After her death, I promised myself I would never allow bitterness to define my life. I finished school and took multiple jobs. I saved relentlessly. I learned cooking, management, and customer service. With a small loan and personal savings, I opened a modest roadside motel and diner near Route 66. I named it Silver Pines Lodge. It was humble but honest. Travelers stopped for rest. Locals came for breakfast. Slowly, the place gained a reputation for warmth and consistency. That is when Nathan Cole entered my life. He was quiet, respectful, and observant. He never asked personal questions but always showed up when help was needed. He fixed broken lights, helped with deliveries, and stayed late without expecting anything in return. We became friends naturally. Over time, friendship turned into trust, trust turned into love. When he proposed, I accepted without hesitation. That night, he revealed the truth. Nathan was from an influential family in Washington, D.C. His family controlled investment firms, law practices, and commercial properties across the East Coast. He had stepped away from that world by choice. I told him everything about my parents, my grandmother, my cousins, the stolen inheritance. He listened carefully, then he acted. Within weeks, legal investigations reopened the case. Evidence of fraud emerged, financial crimes surfaced. Judges who once ignored us now paid attention. The verdict was swift. All stolen assets were returned to me, criminal charges followed. My cousins lost everything they had built on lies. Standing outside the courthouse in Seattle, I felt something unfamiliar. Closure. I sold most of the properties and used the money to build scholarships and housing support programs. I kept Silver Pines Lodge exactly as it was. Nathan and I married quietly. Today, I wake up every morning grateful for struggle. Because without it, I would never have learned the value of humility. Pride destroys, resilience rebuilds, and sometimes life returns what was taken when you least expect it.